store at 2615 Broad.
Children and teenagers, including in Newberry, who have perished recently in other spots in the Midlands, I'm sorry to say. And it's certainly in Texas, what a bad situation that is, and tragedy. And so, Mr. Lyman, I appreciate you saying that. Let's have a moment of silence for the children, and then Mr. Smokey Davis will have our invocation after that. Thank you.
Lord, we need you. We need your love. We need your grace, and we need your peace. Please be with us. Please be with our country. Please be with our people. Help us to make good decisions. Help us to love our neighbors. Give us your love and give us your peace. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right. Chairman's introductions, Mr. Ben Molly, good news from the COG. We'll go to those items.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have some good news going on at the COG and our workforce program. Wanted to highlight a student, Virginia Priester, being enrolled in our Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act program this past August. She was unemployed and needed some new skills to become reemployed. She was interested in a new career in accounting and payroll, and she was able to secure a quick training scholarship through Midlands Technical College. So that was just a wonderful partnership. And she completed her training this past April. She's been hired by the South Carolina Department of Mental Health as a physical specialist, having exited our program successfully, and she's enjoying her new career, which is great news. The Ombudsman program is going to be hosting on Wednesday, June 15th. It's actually World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. On the 14th, at our offices, we'll be hosting a training for the community and other agencies. The title of the training is Elder Abuse and Mandated Reporting. It's going to be offered by Zoom and in person, and we'll be able to get some continuing education credits. Training will be from 11 to 2:30, and we've had Dr. Kavanaugh before. She's a wonderful presenter, and we'd love for you to share her information out. Victoria, if they need to register, doesn't contact you as well. That's going to be from 11 to 2:30 on June 14th. Next item, the Fairfield County Council on Aging. This was actually in the newspaper. This is very exciting. On tomorrow, they're going to be having from 10 to 1 at their new facility, Winsboro Senior Center. They're going to be having a senior recognition day. They're going to be having a bunch of vendors, prizes, and more. It's for folks that are age 60 and over. And they're also asking for the Meals on Wheels program. They're looking for volunteers. So if anyone could share that information out, working with them, they'd certainly like to invite you to be part of their program. I'll be sending this out later on today. In that PowerPoint, you'll see that link down there at the bottom if you want to get involved with the Fairfield County Council on Aging. Next item, Jason. In our CMCOG program, we're real proud to partner with the Brooklyn Lakeview Empowerment Center, WAC. And I mentioned last month, Gregory's been working with them for some time. We're really excited to have Dr. Cotton here today, who's the executive director. But Gregory's worked with them to get some new grants, and she's going to go into more detail, but they received a $50,000 diabetes prevention grant from the South Carolina Department of Environmental Control. Just shy of $500,000 from African American Civil Rights Grant from the National Park Service, and then another grant just over $219,000 from Lexington County Community Development Block Grant Program. So we're real excited she's going to be doing the presentation today.
And a little louder.
A little louder.
And I need to be a little louder.
Okay, sorry. That's quite all right. That was actually all the 4 items I wanted to highlight today.
I tell you what,
And like I said, I'll be sending this out later on today in PowerPoint, so you'll have all this information in front of you.
good stuff, being. I'm always impressed how busy the COG is. So I appreciate the staff, all y'all are doing. Thank you very much. All right, there's just a few highlights from around the region I found. Right here in Richland County, $5 billion capital investment, 51 new jobs, laser form machine expanded operation in Richland County. Congratulations to Richland County. Good stuff there. Next slide, please. Was Fairfield County. They have a new industrial site, 50 acres, 450,000 square foot, pre-graded pad, first of its kind in Fairfield County, and one of the largest currently available pre-graded sites across South Carolina. Congratulations, Fairfield County. Good stuff there. Next slide. I actually, quite frankly, y'all might not be surprised, have a problem this time finding good news. And just for information, the West Metro News, which I believe is the Casey, West Columbia, they have good news. That's my new go-to spot. A lot of it, I don't know why, but I don't know the West Metro News, but they have good news. And so Lexington Hospital Medical Center, which I've heard a lot of good things about. One of their directors, Mr. Sykes, spoke at the Casey, West Columbia Chamber of Commerce. I just pulled these slides out of that. It was just quite staggering to me how big that hospital is now, the good things they got going on. 1 in 6, 5% of total number of employees in Lexington County work at the hospital, is what I understood from that Lexington County Medical Center. And they have a new facility planned for Casey, and just some good things there. Y'all might want to look at that later. But if you're looking for good news, I'm recommending the West Metro News of Casey, West Columbia. They have some good stories. And Dr. Cotton's from, would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And if y'all know them, please pass that along, because I went to all the normal ones. Y'all can think of who they are. There's not much good news being on it.
They're calling all the doctors from Columbia.
Is that right? Well,
Everybody
everybody
goes to Lexington.
doing good things. Next slide, please. Ben, we got some good news.
Yes, sir, we sure do. We wanted to thank Midlands Technical College for hosting us all these months. The next meeting is going to be here at the airport campus, and then in August and September, we're going to move back to the Harbison campus up in Irma. And then for the rest of the year, October and December, we'll be back here. Just want to thank Dr. Rames and Michael and Lauren for always giving us great hospitality.
Really, y'all please pass along around. Thanks. And I'm sorry, I didn't know.
Madeline.
I didn't know until this week, y'all, we are the mass. I'm gonna say we now, because I joke with Ben that, we're finishing the spring semester. I feel younger being here. So we reapplied for the fall semester and y'all accepted us. And Midlands Tech announced last year that it's the student voter, they are the Mavericks. And so we're kind of affiliated students, so we are the Mavericks. How about that? But this is really nice. Y'all done a super job for us, and we're really appreciative of Midlands Tech letting us the meeting spread out. It's been well received. Well, all right, very good. All right, let's go now. I think that was it for our announcements. Thank you all. We're going to go down to Dr. Cotton. We've moved her up on the agenda. The Brooklyn Lakeview, Cotton, actually go to the podium wherever you would like to speak. The Brooklyn Lakeview Empowerment Center. Y'all just heard all the good work that they are doing, and Dr. Cotton, we're glad to have with us. She is serves as executive director for the Brooklyn Lakeview Empowerment Center and the director of the J.B. Adams Senior Citizen Center. Since 2018, she has an extensive background in higher education as an administrator and assistant professor. Prior to joining the center, she served as executive director of continuing ed at Claflin University and director of the Management Institute Advanced Program at Morris College. She's been an adjunct professor at a bunch of places, including Benedict, Midlands Tech, Central Carolina Technical College. She's a graduate of the Darla Moore School of Business at USC. And she has a lot of accolades and is doing a lot of good work, as we just saw. Dr. Cotton, and you're also endorsed highly by Gregory Sprouts, which that means a lot around here. So thanks for what you're doing, and thanks for telling us about the programs y'all are working on.
Thank you all so much for inviting me here today. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, board members. And I'm delighted to be here today, and I certainly endorse Gregory as well. We have been working with Gregory Spouse for many, many years, even prior to me coming on to the LAC in 2018. He played an instrumental role in helping us to achieve a lot of our goals. And so we're super, super thankful to Central Midlands and all that you all do and all that Gregory's been assisting us with today. So again, I'm Cindy Cotton, and I'm the Executive Director of the Brooklyn Lakeview Empowerment Center. The Brooklyn Lakeview Empowerment Center has been around since 2008. And we are affiliated with Brooklyn Baptist Church. We're one of two nonprofit organizations that are affiliated with Brooklyn Baptist Church. The other nonprofit organization is the Brooklyn Foundation. We are 501c3. We are in the former Lakeview School. So our site is actually an old school, state utilization school, as a matter of fact, that existed from 1949 to 1968. That's our site in West Columbia. And it's about 93,000 square feet of space. And we serve a little over 15,000 individuals per year with all of our many programs. Our vision statement, I'm just going to paraphrase because I was told to keep it brief, is that we are a supportive community in which all people have pathways to health, education, and economic opportunities. That's our vision and mission statement. And some of our goals are to improve the quality of life for all people. We focus on senior citizens, youth and teens, families. We provide a safe and inviting environment for them to participate in activities. And then also because of the historical significance of the building, with being a former Lakeview School, state utilization school, there's historic significance as well. So we try to preserve that history, and we're working on just in 2020 we received a state marker for the school, and we're working to become a national historic site to preserve the history of the former Lakeview School and state utilization schools in South Carolina. And then goal 5 is to cultivate collaborative partnerships with community partners, much like you all. And here's a list of all of our board members. There are board members that serve a term of 3 years, and then they rotate out to 3 years. And then this is actually just a layout of the building. As I mentioned, it's 93,000 square feet of space. So we have a lot of space here, facilities, and this is where you guys, Central Midlands, have been instrumental in helping us, because we were able to receive a lot of the capital improvement grants through the CDBG and Lexington County, as well as the National Park Service. And through those fundings, we were able to renovate just a lot of the space, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a second, but we were able to make improvements throughout the building with a lot of the grant funding that we received through the support and partnership that we have with Central Midlands. And here's some just to kind of give you all an idea of just how impactful Central Midlands has been to the PLC and helping us to get these grants for facility improvements. And we would also thank Lexington County as well for the CDBG program, because they have allowed us to receive the CDBG grant since 2013. And we were able to use those funds for a roofing replacement project. We received a little over 1.5 million over the course of years to renovate the building in terms of replacing the roof. It's like I said, this is a large space, it's a large building. So there's a lot of renovations that's needed. This building was built in 1949. So, you know, or it was built in 1949, they expanded in the 50s and the 60s. And so there's been a lot of work that has been done, but a lot of work that continues that needs to be done. Restroom renovations and locker room renovations, which in fact we're currently have construction ongoing for the block of renovations for the gymnasium. And then we were instrumental in receiving 2 National Park Service grants. So you heard me mention that we have the state historic marker, and so that qualifies us for the National Park Service grant. And so we received our first grant last year for a little over $221,000, and that was for roofing replacement work. And then we just recently got a notification that we received a second grant for interior renovations. So with all the space that we have a lot of programming, we have all the space, but some of it we can't use because there's improvements that need to be made to the facilities. And so this is really impactful and helpful for us to be able to get this funding to be able to do those renovations so that we can expand our programs and services. So we want to say thank you all for that. Okay, and then of course, as a nonprofit organization, you are always looking for unrestricted funding. And so in that space, we have opportunities for small businesses. And so we provide a very competitive rate for small businesses. It's below market rate, $500 per month, and that includes utilities. So where are you going to get that? That's probably low costly, right? Right. And so with the small businesses, these are some of the small businesses that we have there that are listed up here. And many of them, these small businesses have been with us for over 5 or 6 years. In addition, we changed our cafeteria to a hall. We referred to it as the Golden Hall. And you can see it here, it's decorated with the white tables there. We rent out that space for parties or receptions and things of that nature, $150 per hour. And so we have an event hall, and then we have space for our small businesses as well. We've been very fortunate over the past 2 years to receive a lot of grant funding. And so this is very helpful to the community because all of these programs and services are beneficial to the community living in the Crest area where the center is located. It's a food desert. It's in an economic empowerment zone, and it's an underserved community that we're serving. So one of the programs that we were recently awarded was the Diabetes Intervention Program. And as you all know, South Carolina ranks in the top 10 in terms of diabetes. So we're trying to address diabetes in a real way. With this kind of program, we're providing education with our intervention to educate people who are diabetic or pre-diabetic on ways that they can manage their diabetes so that they can be more healthy and successful. They're taking medication and things of that nature, but we want to make sure they monitor what they eat, they exercise. And so through this program, they're able to go through this program and stay the course. Eat healthy, take their medication, and through this intervention, we hope to see successful outcomes. We're 6 weeks into the program with our first cohort, and we have upcoming cohorts that are scheduled, and they're all booked. So the program is very successful so far, and we've not had to really recruit at all because people that hear about it and they're signing up for the program. And so we'll hopefully later be able to give y'all some outcomes based on that program. We also have the mental health awareness program. And so with this particular program, also a new program, we were awarded a 5-year grant from the Department of Health and Human Services. And with this particular program, we are providing mental health first aid training to the public. And it's like a CPR course, but it's mental health focused. It teaches you how to recognize the signs of mental illness, anxiety, depression, and so that you can refer that individual for help, for resources. So oftentimes we may know somebody who's going through a crisis or they're having anxiety and we don't know what to do, right? So with this training, it tells you where to refer that person for counseling, for food, for shelter, all of the essential resources within the community or nationally, where to send that person to hopefully save their life or to provide them with some coping mechanism. And so mental health awareness training is offered to the public. It's an 8-hour training session. And at the end of the training, you receive certification that's good for 3 years. And the 3 types of mental health training that we provide is the adult mental health first aid course, which is for adults age 18 and older. So that's to recognize the signs of mental illness in adults. And then youth mental health first aid is a training course that we provide to adults who work with children. So that could be your teachers, your parents, your community leaders, anybody who works with children. The youth mental health course is for those individuals to help them to recognize signs of mental illness or a crisis in a child. And so they would be able to refer that child for assistance. And then the last course that we provide is teen mental health first aid, which is for teenagers aged 15 to 18. And so with those three courses, those are in our catalog. There are many courses in the catalog, but these are the three courses that we're offering. We provide these courses. We have certified instructors who will come out to your workplace, or you can come to the BLEC and you can take the training. And like I said, the training is, the certification is good for 3 years. Our goal, our ultimate goal with the mental health first aid grant is to build a community of informed individuals on how to recognize the signs of mental illness. So if we build a community of informed persons and how to recognize the signs, how to refer these individuals for resources, then we feel like we're making an impact in this community. And so that, you know, people would, like, if they would not ignore the signs when somebody is in crisis, we would be able to help them and provide them with the resources that they need. We also have another new program called the Brooklyn Lakeview COLA program. So this is a partnership with Northside Middle School. We're in West Columbia. We partnered with a middle school. Northside Middle School is about less than 2 miles away from the BLEC. It's a Title I school. It has low reading and math scores. And so we partnered with them to assist the school to help to improve the academic performance of the students at the school. Another issue that they have in this particular school is behavior. Behavior is a major problem. So with this after-school summer camp program through the COLA program, we're providing, through the after-school program, summer camp program, we're providing academic enrichment in math, reading, and character building, okay, to address the issues that they're having at this particular school. We want to see an improvement in their math skills, an improvement in their reading skills, and an improvement in their behavior. And so through this intervention with the after-school program, the summer camp program, and providing that curriculum, then we hope to see some really positive outcomes. Now, with our after-school and our summer camp is more than just about the academic component. They have fun too. We want the kids to be engaged. So we want them to come and, it's voluntary. We have fun activities for them as well. They go on field trips. They have fun days. So it's a very enrichment, fulfilling experience for the kids. We also have the James B. Adams Senior Citizen Center. And with this particular center, we cater to senior citizens. This is one of our oldest programs at the BLEC. And with our particular program, the seniors that come 1 day a week, and it's designed to keep them independent and active. So when they come to the BLEC, they participate in creative arts, or they may take a computer class, or they, fun and games. So we have information sessions. We have different activities for them. And then towards the midday, they have a lunch. We provide them with a lunch. And that's 1 day a week on Tuesdays. And this is for any seniors invited to come if they meet the age requirements, which is 60 and older. And they pay a $5 per week membership fee to attend. So it's pretty reasonable membership dues. And we used to get about maybe 75 to 80 seniors that actually attend per week.
And I tell you what, Dr. Cotton, you have done a fantastic job for us. And really a lot of good programs. And we're going to move on to the agenda items. But if there are people in our board that have people in their community that'd like to talk to you,
Yes,
and take it to their county or their town, would that be okay?
absolutely, yes. And so how do I share my information?
We're going to do it to Ben,
Okay.
and we'll distribute your information.
Okay.
But we are really proud of all the great things y'all are doing, and really impressed. We just like to give you a round of applause. And
Yeah, I appreciate it.
good stuff. And I hope we can copy your work some other places in the Midlands.
Absolutely, thank you.
All right, I tell you, we are going to go on to our action items while we have our 26 people On board. All right, so I'm gonna move to the consent agenda, and y'all have that in front of you. Is there a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved.
Mr. Davis, Mr. Bell, any questions or discussion? Please, sir. Yes, sir.
Maybe it's just you, Mr. Chairman, or Mr. McLeod, who I do not see here, so I'll address it to you. Does Newberry County have a team for item number 2 for the projects that you see on here that can fund that, or is there any multiple projects, not necessarily a team for roads? Yes.
Newberry County has capital project sales tax for infrastructure type projects, not for regular.
Lots of things that are.
Correct. Correct.
Just questioning, I'm in favor of it, but I just wanted to know if there was other.
Right, I see y'all are doing a huge,
Yeah, I may be coming here if ours doesn't pass.
okay, very good, very good. All right, other questions about the consent agenda? If not, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? All right, we're done that. If you're in favor of it, please say aye.
All right.
All right.
And opposed? And that passes. Thank y'all. Regular agenda. The revised budget, Mr. Ben Malden, talk to us about our green sheet and our pack. We are near the end of the fiscal year.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you look at the closure, closures 5, since we did our last financial statement, I told you we bring back a revised budget to you. And this is, we met with each of our departmental heads and looked at anticipated revenues and expenses through the end of this year. For everything that we plan on accomplishing. We've been increasing our staffing levels, in doing this, our budget expenses will increase in the upcoming fiscal year. The revised budget does show a reduction of expenses for about 20% and a reduction of revenues around 12%. This is due to a lot of our COVID has caused a lot of our things to be significantly reduced, such as training and travel. And I told you we're working on increasing our staffing. We've got positions that we recently filled in aging. We're going to be replacing a position in the ombudsman program that someone will be rotating, as well as some finance staff as well. Happy to answer any questions at this time. This is the revised budget that we're going to present. And the next month's meeting, we'll be bringing our upcoming fiscal year budget for your review and approval.
Questions?
Mr. Chair, if I may. All right, there seems to be some, first place, there was no financial statement, which is in this month's package to compare performance to this budget presented. But you're taking about a $1.3 million haircut in both revenues. The biggest single line item, and there seems to be some nomenclature changes between our normal financial statements and this budget change. But the largest single item is in transportation revenues. That's $1.1 million. Is there $1.1 million is a big change? Is there a reason behind that? I mean, a specific cause, grants, or?
Well, for transportation, when it comes down to transportation contractors, you have to go through a process, procurement process for SDOT. SDOT is short of staff right now, so it's been a challenge to try to get through that process to get things approved. That's not in Central Mississippi region, that's across the statewide. SDOT is in the process of adding more staff, and as they add more staff, we have a great opportunity to get our proposed projects processed, which allows us then to spend more money. As for the regular PL funds, we get a large amount of PL funds. Planning funds, that we do our studies and whatnot. And doing those studies, they go through the same procurement process with SDOT. So as we are proposing those studies, as we've gotten them approved in our work program, once they get processed, then we're able to spend money.
Okay.
I think, Mr. Hall, you made a good point, but in that point, Ben was making, Reginald was making, you know, we're coming back from COVID, we're short staff, we got more staff, DOT. You know, we working with them on some things. So I expect that if we look at the screen sheet this time next year on our approved budget, you're gonna see much more of the categories meeting their numbers.
And we're not going to be losing that money. That money will carry over.
You think the presentation next meeting with the 2023 budget.
Yes,
Some of this will carry
we're
over.
not gonna lose this one.
Yeah, because I was real disappointed down here in some of the expenses, particularly, and of course, 400 grand for the transportation contractors, but you have reductions in capital outlays and employee expenses, which that's seed money. That's for the future, to make sure you have satisfied and retain your employees. And then, of course, capital outlays, give them a good work environment. So that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hall. Other questions?
I have one.
Yes, Mr. Daniel.
Does this include any of the ARPA funds or all of this money outside of ARPA?
And I'm sorry, what funds come from? ARPA, okay. Very good, Mr. Funny. All right.
It does include all.
It does include ARPA. Other questions, Ms. Conlon?
Is there additional in the package, how we come from, where this money comes from that's available to us, other than just the sum?
More, this can provide you more detail, more financial.
So is there like a little package that we provide to the board?
I don't have anything to give you today.
No.
Okay.
All right, so y'all be following up, that'd be great. Other questions? All right, y'all see the revised budget. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Mr. Bell? Second. Second. Mr. Lyman? Any other questions or discussion? If not, you're in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? And that is approved. Item number 2, under action item CMRTA, section 5339 funds, enclosure 6, Mr. Simmons. It's my understanding, these are funds that came through in 2019 and 2020. They are now ready to allocate them over our friends for 11 bus shelters and the purchase and installation of bus shelters at the Lucius Road Superstop. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, and this is money that was already in the system, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. And I believe we have somebody to comment on board maybe today. Somebody got any questions?
Do have, Michelle Ransom.
Ms. Ransom, anybody got any questions? Ms. Ransom? And before we do that, for a full-scale comment discussion, then we're gonna ask them to comment at a future meeting to come talk about the comment more in detail. But so we're just gonna confine it right now to just this item.
Oh,
This has been approved.
Original is what we said.
Now,
Mr. Chairman, so this has been approved by their board and requested of these funds.
Yes, sir.
by Reginald or by the person online? No, by Reginald. All right, Reginald, hit the high points, please. That's all right.
You're just requesting approval to, add these funds to our, add projects of these funds for our 2020-2027 till. We're the designated recipient for the Section 5339 program. We have a memorandum of understanding with CMRTA, which determines that they'll receive most of the money to do projects that support public transit. These funds will be used for planning, administration, capital, and operating assistance. As the chairman said, in 2019, we gave them $585,000. In 2020, we gave them $626,000. They're ready to use these funds for projects. Those projects going to include doing 11 bus shelters for the 2019 funds and doing bus shelters for the super stop for the 2020 funds. And we asked for these funds and these projects to be included in our 2020 to 2027 too.
Gosh, you did that better than me.
Great.
All right.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Did we look at using these funds on anything else, or that was?
The purpose of the Section 5339 program is to use funding for bus facilities and recreation facility items and amenities. And so primary person in our region who work with bus facilities is CMRTA. So through our MOU, we provide them with the funding. They go through their process, get approved by their board, come back to us for the administrative purpose of putting into our transportation improvement program.
Okay, what are the?
In this particular case, they're using for bus shelters.
Yeah, but, do you have?
They're using for shelters, projects for like trash cans for shelters, benches, for the citizens at the bus shelter stops. So
Ms. Ransom, do you have anything you'd like to add? Thanks for joining us today. Ms. Ransom from the comment. Would you like to share anything with us?
Yes, thank you very much. We have, over the past 3 years, implemented a real heavy process about putting out shelters. I know everybody's aware of the heat in South Carolina in the summer, and it can get pretty cold and dreary in the winter, and we want our clients that ride transit to be as comfortable as possible while they wait for these vehicles. We have, I'm sure you've seen, quite a few shelters have been placed. This will allow us to continue to place shelters and shelter amenities such as waste baskets, benches, solar lighting, things of that nature for safety purposes. And also will allow us to finish the construction at River and Lucius for a super stop, which will have multiple bus routes converging in one location. So everyone doesn't have to go all the way downtown in order to switch buses.
And what's your timetable if this goes through? Please, ma'am, Ms. Ransom.
The timetable for completion of construction,
Yes, just a ballpark, like next year, or what do you think?
it should be done on I'd say by the end of the year, calendar year for sure.
Good deal.
And these are pass-through funds, these are not our dollars.
All right, these are pass-through funds, and it was approved by your board already, Ms. Ransom, was the question?
Yes,
Well,
they
this
have
plan-
seen, there's an ongoing project budget, and these funds were shown in that, yes.
All right,
Michelle, where is the location?
For part of it is just multiple bus shelter locations that are not yet designated or are designated but not yet approved through the DOT siting plan. But the other grant is for Lucius Road and River Drive, which is right when you cross the bridge for Broad River, when it becomes River Drive. When you cross the bridge, it'll be on your right if you're headed towards downtown or towards the hospital.
This does not relate to the intermodal.
No, this does not relate to
Okay.
intermodal.
all right, other questions?
Yes, I have a question. Todd Beasley here. What are the parameters of deciding which bus stops get shelters and which do not?
We try to put shelters on our most populated routes. We also look to make sure, where possible, that there are ADA accessible locations to put a shelter, preferably with a sidewalk, something so anybody with any kind of disability, as far as ambulatory disabilities, can get to the shelter. But we prioritize the higher ridership routes. But also, if the wait time may be extended for a seldom used route or a infrequent route, we may put a shelter out there so that individuals that may have to wait a little while will be able to do so in comfort.
Thank you. And regarding waste bins and garbage pickup, whose responsibility is that and the frequency of that occurrence?
We do have a contractor that goes out and regularly cleans those. I believe it is 3 times a week. But if a driver notices, an incident where there may be trash at a shelter or a bus stop, they will call into our dispatchers and let them know, and we will get somebody out there that day.
Thank you.
Mr. Daniel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This may or may not pertain, but I'm always concerned about our rural communities. So how do this 5339 project funds, how do they benefit our rural community?
Mr. Simmons.
These are urbanized funds as determined by FTA. So any money that will be for the rural community will go to SCDC.
Okay, I think it might help them sometimes when we get the information, if we can have that, we can kind of maybe have that in parentheses or something.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. So example, in the future, maybe then, when it says 5339 funds, define what those are for. Those are for bus funds for urban areas. That would help layman like me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Good thought. All right, what else y'all got?
If not, we'll accept the motion to approve the section 5339 as detailed in enclosure 6. Is there a motion for that?
So moved.
Mr. Lyman, second, Mr. Kelly. Any other questions, discussion? If not, if you're in favor of this, please say aye.
Aye.
And if you are opposed? And that passes, Ms. Ransom, I apologize. Thank you for joining us today, and giving us some good information. Next item, Assembly Street Rail Separation Project is part of the 2045 Long Range Transportation Plan, which is enclosure 7. Y'all know that the city of Columbia is looking at a major project. Mr. Simmons told us that on Monday, they submitted their application for a big federal grant. As part of that, it would help their application if we included this in our long-range plan. The thought being that if the federal folks look at it, if we haven't approved it, don't think it's a good idea, then they might not get the grant. So it would help their case if this was our long-range plan. That's all we're really doing here. Mr. Simmons, is that correct?
That is correct.
All right.
So moved.
Well, this might be easy. Any questions, or discussion? I like the way y'all think it is.
Anytime we get rid of railroad tracks.
All right. So basically, if you vote yes, you're saying this is a good idea from the college perspective. We support it. Any other questions or discussion? Did you have anything here, Mr. Simmons, you want to show? We have or you're gonna show railroad traction to make us more excited to vote for it?
Yes, sir.
Is that it?
That's it.
All right. No other questions? If you're in favor of this, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Sorry, all in favor? Opposed? And that passes. Thank y'all. Next item, long-range plan, multimodal transportation center. Kind of the same thing here, Mr. Simmons. This is not multimodal. We've talked about it a couple of times. It would eventually include Amtrak and Greyhound. We're trying to find a place. And to get a better case study, it needs to be part of our long-range plan, is what you're telling us here. Is that correct?
And they also see components from the same effort that the city is taking.
Okay, this big federal program,
Yes.
infrastructure money.
Control.
All right, so by adding this, they're gonna make a better case, is the thought.
I think it's my question.
Mr. Lyon?
Just a couple of questions. What exactly is this doing, Richard?
What they're doing is going through a process to expand upon the study that they did back in 2016 and looked at 22 sites to determine what's the best site for the future of the CMCOG headquarters. As part of that process, they're also seeking grant fundings to possibly build a facility sometime in the future once they determine what the site is. And we're just adding it to our long-range plan to up the regional significance of it as they apply for this fund through the federal process.
So are we extending it?
Extending it in what way?
Well, in March of last year, if you remember the discussion, the COG approved 289,000 in funding to hire a lobbyist in Washington, DC, and $25,000 for travel. Having served on the CMRTA board, I would just question some of that, which I did. Has there been any contact with the governor's office?
So I'll defer to Michelle to talk about the interrelationship between.
If you remember, we had several email exchanges,
Yes, sir. I understand what you're talking about.
and I was assured that there would be that contact made. Apparently, that contact has not been made.
All right, and can we refer that question again?
Yeah, sorry.
All right, can you address that again, please? Mr.
No, I'm sorry,
Michelle,
She's still online?
but I just wonder why,
so that was an effort being made by the former executive director of the comment. Not sure if he ever made that phone call, but I do remember the discussion that you made of contacting the governor's office about the.
I think Michelle's on the call, isn't she? You know, I'm sorry, my eyesight, I don't know, Michelle's not in the room, but she's on the call, and
Yes.
stuff.
Ms. Ransom, are you still on the line?
Well, I talked to the product manager, I talked to the CMRTA director, I talked to the governor's office, and I just want to know in a year if there's been any follow-up.
Ms. Ransom, will you still be on the call if you hopefully and can answer this, provide some additional information? We're gonna pause.
Yes, I am on the call. Mr. Lemming, I don't know about the contact with the governor's office. We have changes in our executive director leadership. I'm not sure where it stands. I know that some of the budget items that were shown on that original request were items that are not federally funded. It was just the overall project. I'm sure, well, I think one of the issues was paying for a grants administrator to handle the applications. And I can assure you that nobody else other than me has been doing that recently. So I think that some of those items that you were concerned about maybe never went to fruition, that we're moving along with hopefully citing the project at this point. We haven't gotten to anywhere near construction or anything of that nature.
Does CMRTA still have a contract with the Washington lobbyists?
I don't believe we ever had a contract, to my knowledge now. To my knowledge, we did not have a contract with the lobbyist. I think that was.
Right, I would just urge caution, and I think it might be appropriate since this involves the core of the Midlands, that the governor's office, Washington liaison office would be a great avenue to follow, as I said a year ago. But I'm disappointed that no one has apparently followed up on that.
All right. Ms. Ransom, we appreciate it again. And again, I think Ben and Reginald are going to ask a little bit longer comment presentation, either our June or August meeting. And we'll get more information. All right. I don't think, I'm kind of confused at this point, that we had a motion for this, did we? To include the multimodal transportation center? Was there someone to make a motion to add this to our long range plan with the same idea, Reginald, Mr. Simmons, that we're just adding this to the plan so that way it makes a better case for federal money?
Yes, sir.
Is there a motion for that?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Davis, second. Mr. Bell. Other questions or discussion, including online? All right, here we go. 550 billion. We're gonna straighten their application. I should just read this instead of following through this thing again. You can get my cue cards up early. I'd look a lot smoother. Mr. Hall.
If I may, clarification, and I heard the word headquarters, which brought up executive offices and so forth. This is a physical location for interchange between buses, train, and the local transportation. It's a physical center where you get off the train.
Yes.
You can get on a bus, local or otherwise.
And they
Has
show
nothing to do with the headquarters or location of the executive offices or comment.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
in the last year, they showed some pictures, I believe in Raleigh or something. It was really neat. So, any other questions?
My age, my memory's bad.
Well, Mr. Lyman's got the numbers down to the dollars. It sits over here, $269,000. I was impressed.
If you can't see or hear, you can do other things real
Well, he's got a memory.
Point of order, yeah.
All right. So remember, Mr. Lyman, whatever we say, Mr. Lyman's gonna remember, and be able to bring it up a year from now, March the 12th. All right, y'all got anything else? If not, we're gonna call for the vote. If you're in favor of adding this to the 2045 long range plan, the multimodal transportation center, please say aye.
Aye.
And if you are against it, please say nay. And that passes. Thank you all. Thank you, Ms. Ransom again. Item number 5, 2045 long range transportation plan, White Pine Road, Whiting Way intersection. Mr. Reginald Simmons, enclosure 9, please, sir.
Back in 2017, we did a transportation land study in cooperation with Kershaw County. As part of that effort, we revealed that what they regard as the Westwater area, there's going to be tremendous growth and development over the next 20 years.
Next slide. There we go.
Looking at slide. As part of those efforts that I discussed with Kershaw County, they've identified and asked us to include the White Pond Road and Whiting Way intersection for further study and analysis. As you can see, the location of the balloon is right next to two medical facilities in Kershaw County, as well as right next to the I-20 interchange.
All right, very good. So the council staff requests approval to amend the 2045 long range plan to add the White Pond Road Whiting Way intersection improvement project. Is there a motion for that?
I would move and have a clarification that we discussed in executive.
So moved here, Julian Barnes.
Mr. Burns and
Mr. Davidson, you can, I'll second it if he wants to make the motion. But I just want to make sure we understand that if Kershaw does change their COG affiliation, then we will transport this request to their new COG.
Right, and I was gonna have, under old and new business update on Kershaw County, that they are seeking to join completely the Santee Lynch's COG. They would rather be all together versus separated, which I think is understandable. So they are pursuing that. At the same time, we are pursuing the business as we normally would. It was raised in our 11:15 meeting that if they was.
I got a phone call outside.
Project would be transferred, and being as Reginald said, that's the way it would work.
Well, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so if that is the case, then the staff and time that we put in doing this would end with our staff and would have to be picked up with the ECOG that they are going to.
That's correct.
We know that.
We know that.
Okay.
Okay, but I have a question, so, I think, Dr. Stephen, Dr. Simmons, what might have been great, I can't remember now. But we have a bad intersection of Smallwood Road and Highway. Which I hope, talking about that, right? And so how do we get some help? We've had DOT to go look at that intersection. Okay, we changed to have accident on that intersection. So how do we go look at it and so we can see what else can be done to help us to make those accidents?
Let's have a conversation after we talk about the next steps.
Okay.
Yeah, I think one thing that's been hopefully fruitful long range is that with the COG and DOT looking at smaller projects, that we're gonna be able to do more things like intersection. Work some improvements. And board members may have things they want to suggest we look at.
Clarification, really, this is just a paper situation. It does, we're not really talking about expending significant resources. So it's a minor.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to add the White Pond Road Winding Way intersection to the 2045 long range plan.
Can I make a discussion item, please, since I made the motion?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Mr. Burns.
Thanks, fellas. First of all, what's the planning window for this, Reggie? When do you see this initial project going in?
We're working on a TIP amendment right now. We have to go through the process of getting approval from SCDOT. Once we receive that approval, we will continue with the NPO planning process and take it through our committees.
All right, so does that need, and how will that be communicated to us?
It'll come up through the committee process, as we will make a presentation to committees and ask them to recommend approval to keep moving forward, so it can come back to the NPO policy committee, which in this case is the CMCOG board.
Thank you. The second item, and I appreciate the leadership of our chairman in getting these small steps done for these rural counties such as Kershaw County after nearly 23 years of no projects. Well, yeah, it's more than 23. So I do appreciate you, Foster, stepping up courageously the way you've done that. But if you recall in the memorandum that initiated this that you and I had shared, there were a number of other projects. And secondly, there was one that talked about widening a road at another location. I want to stay on the agenda item, but I do want to put it in the broader context is this one is one of many. And so do you expect a working session later on, Reggie, to bring these other ones forward or what?
Mr. Chairman, we are working with the school and SCDOT to take a look at school issues that you brought up. And we are also working with SCDOT to look at those corridors that you brought up for further analysis. So we'll
Yeah, thanks.
the information, we'll bring it back to you.
Yeah, and I think one of the challenges is we all have roads in our community. I just called last night about one. Mr. Bell has reported, Mr. Daniel, none their heads. So unfortunately, the COG really not had that much money, in my opinion. Y'all might disagree, but I don't think not for all the problems there are. But if we can knock them out as we go, make some improvements and help our folks in the Central Midlands COG area, we'll be doing some good things.
I encourage you all to continue this project, this approach that our chairman has suggested for us rural counties to do some small steps. Otherwise, we'll never see any help. And I will just tell you that 17% of growth in that one intersection in population, maybe not in density, 17% growth there in terms of population has been enormous. And if something happens here in the next 4 weeks, we're going to have another discussion, and I'll let you know about that. That'll be monumental. So thanks very much, everybody. I'm through with my questions. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. This is Brian Carter, West Columbia. What is the time frame for Kershaw County to make a decision regarding their COG membership?
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Mr. Burns.
That is point of order. And let me register my complaint here. This is not a part of this particular agenda item as a parliamentarian matter. It's later on in the discussion. And to temper our vote based on what may happen is a different item altogether. I would suggest we defer that to the later discussion. I yield back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Burns, I think you're correct there. So Mr. Carter will take that up a little bit later. Everybody's nodding their head. They agree. So Mr. Burns, our parliamentarians in the group agree with y'all, you. So what else we got here specific for this item? If nothing else.
Oh, for the question.
Mr. Davis calls for the question. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye. Aye.
Nay.
And opposed?
Nay.
I'd like to know who the nay is, please.
Okay, that passes. We will go forward to item D, announcements, committee staff reports.
Who is the nay vote, please?
Mr. Burns, we are moving on. Thank you.
No, but that is a reasonable question to know who the nay vote is.
I have no idea.
Well, then somebody ought to record the nay vote.
All right, Mr. Burns, we are chat for time. As you tell me, I gotta stay on schedule, as you like and others like to tell me. So we're gonna get on with rural transportation.
I think that's inadmissible that you don't know who said no. I'm just reporting.
I think we're recording minutes who said no.
You got a motion and second, please follow.
We are moving forward, Mr. Burns. We are going to rural transportation alternatives program overview. We are glad to have with us Ms. Roxanne Acheta, and she has been, she has got a great new program DOT added, and she started in December, and she is Director of Office of Local Government Service at DOT. She used to be Assistant County Administrator in Richland County, and Mr. Chairman, he was doing good stuff. I've had email exchanges with our staff, and we were very impressed. Thanks for coming today and tell us about your new department.
Of course, and I understand we're on a tight time frame, so I'm just gonna zoom through this. I'm passing around my business card. So if y'all have questions after this, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to get back in touch with you. So the Office of Local Government Services is new for DOT. It came about in December of 2021. They looked at the target operating model and said, you know what, we should combine all these local centric programs into one office. And so that's how this office came about. So in this office, we have the C program, we have LPA, we have financial participation agreements and grants, CAP, and contract assurance. And I'm going to briefly run through each of those. The C program, as y'all know, comes from the gas tax. It's divided amongst the 46 counties based on the formula here: population, land area, rural road mileage. State law requires a portion of C funds to be spent on the state highway system. For this current fiscal year, it's 25%. For FY23, it is 33%. Some CTCs choose to self-administer, which means they manage their money. Some have DOT administer their programs. We are happy to, if you're self-administered, we're happy to bring you back into the fold to administer the program on your behalf. So we go ahead and get it off. I'm sure you know most of this. Okay,
We have some time to rush too much. How about
Okay,
5 minutes. Is that okay?
okay, yeah, that's, I just don't want to hold on.
We're good. We vote on everything, so we're glad to be hanging out with you. Good
Okay.
morning.
We'll go back really quickly to the C program. So right now, for those C programs that we administer for counties, we charge a 3% administrative fee. There's gonna be some good information coming out soon regarding that fee. So that might sort of incentivize self-administered counties to sort of come back into the fold. A lot of self-administered counties don't understand all the requirements and administrative burdens that come along with managing this program. So again, we are happy to have you come back into SCDOT and our staff can administer the program on your behalf.
Mr. Chet, I saw a list the other day of what each county gets.
Yes.
Can you send that list out? I found it kind of interesting. Send it to me in an email. How much- It's really, I'll be frank with you, not that much money out there. It's not as much as I thought. Would you agree or disagree with that? Like Newberry's 1.7 million.
Right. Well, and again, it's all based on that formula. And then I will say that the General Assembly this year is looking at doing another one-time proviso
Right.
to provide one-time funds. And I've heard everything, you know, from 100 million up.
Well.
So
If you could send that out, maybe each county would like to know what they're
course.
getting in their county. That
of
list.
course, I'll do that. And also I can send this. This is a map of which ones are self-administered and
Great.
which ones are in-house and sure, absolutely. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So the local public agency program, let's say a county wants to manage a federal aid project. We can delegate that to a county or a city if they are qualified. So the system that we have right now, we have an application process that they have to complete. And they have to be adequately staffed and suitably equipped in order to be able to bring that project to completion. So we're not going to classify somebody as an LPA if we don't believe that they can, you know, bring a project to fruition. Let's go ahead to the next slide. So transportation alternatives program, some of y'all probably know about this as transportation enhancements from years ago. So TAP, it's transportation alternatives, so that means non-motorized transportation. So think bike, ped, greenways, safe routes to schools, those non-motorized type options. So we get money from FHWA, that's the Federal Highway Administration. It comes to us sort of two buckets. So the TMAs, the transportation management areas, we have 6 of those in South Carolina. So COs, CHATs, GPATs, GSATs, RFATs, all these alphabet soup. So those TMAs manage their own transportation alternative funds. They set up the application process, they determine, you know, which grants get awarded. And then SCDOT is responsible for areas under 200,000.
All right, a question there. Oh, you got it.
Yes.
And I've heard a little bit of discussion. That's what our small areas want to hear more about, because they see Columbia, quite frankly, getting real money.
Yes.
And we're kind of thinking, we're not getting any of that. How do we do that?
Yes, okay, great. So first of all, EJA, the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, also known as bipartisan infrastructure law. So that has given us more discretion in our population categories. So it's broken it out further. So there's going to be one group of folks competing with populations 5,000, under 5,000. Okay, so one pot for that. Then it's going to be 5,000 to 50,000 population. And then it's going to be 50,000 to 200,000. So, you know, where I'm from, Howard, the PD will not be competing with, I don't know, a larger municipality. So I think that y'all will be able to see many improvements. We're actually making improvements right now. That's on a future slide to this program. It's being approved right now, going through all the approval channels. We're trying to make it more user friendly. I worked at the county, Richland County, for 15 years, and this was painful. And so I'm trying to take that experience and make it more user friendly and understandable. And hopefully folks won't lapse funds, because these funds lapse. What else can I answer about this?
Well, I just think, Mr. Hall, wait.
Yes, your office will now be the clearinghouse for information on all of these projects.
Yes, sir. So if you.
In other words, I have a sidewalk project, that's 8 years old. We've been dealing with someone else in SCDOT. You can provide us the information.
Yes, if it's a current, has it been funded? Is that what you're saying? Is the TAP project, it's kind of been lingering?
Yes, it supposedly is out for second bid.
We are having, yes, y'all were talking about the budget earlier and bids are coming in so much higher, just, it's crazy,
Well,
y'all.
that's what I want to know is,
Yes.
will it be funded or not?
Yes, depending on, we're looking at that as well, because we know some communities don't have the match that's available to larger communities. So we're actually looking at stepping in and providing potentially 100% of that gap that's needed, or even 100% of the match that's needed. So again, all that's going to be coming out soon. It hasn't been approved yet, but we realize that the small rural high need areas, they need more help than the larger communities who have the staff and the personnel and the monetary resources. Thank you. So more to come on that, but yes, we realize it, and we're trying to accommodate that because we know it's a problem.
I mean, when I have a question here, I'm from Columbia, and of course, we have all the money and exact staff and all the this, that, and the other. And yet we've got manhole covers in our streets that are that far below the level of the pavement. And when the water and sewer people go out and dig up the street, and of course they repave over it. And they just make a complete mess of the thing. And so, you know, I'm calling Robert Anderson all the time. I guess he's still there. Took me 14 years to get a 1-block street resurfaced. But where do we go with those kinds of requests? Because everybody in Columbia says, oh, it's DOT. You know, we don't have anything to do with it.
Right, that's a lot of the
Yeah.
pointing. So as you know, it's who owns the road. So if it's a city-owned road, then obviously it would be Mr. Anderson. You know, if it's a DOT road, we have a call center. And that's on our website.
So,
I can be your call center. That's fine. I'm happy to do.
I'm not agree to that. I'm not agree to that.
I'm happy to connect you with people, but DOT does have a call center. And it's on the website, and it's pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious on the website. You don't have to look for it. That's what I'm trying to say.
Mr. Chair, we're gonna cut off questions, so
And they'll route.
we're gonna cut off questions, you go back to your presentation.
Okay,
Be quiet.
okay.
You do your thing.
Okay, so eligible applicants, local governments, school districts, RTAs, COGs, MPOs with less than 200,000 population. Again, these are the eligible projects that I mentioned. And like I said, we're looking to revise the program right now. Hopefully we'll be rolling it out towards the end of the summer. We also want to focus on our Complete Streets initiative that we have at DOT. And we want to try to prevent funds from lapsing because again, the funds lapse. Next, okay. So what's next for the office? Again, we're currently reviewing the TAP program and making those revisions. Up next is going to be the local public agency program. So stay tuned for that. We're going to have an educational component as these new programs roll out. So if y'all would have, you know, me or my staff come back and enjoy some more Brooklyn macaroni, I'll be happy to tell about the new look of the program. So stay tuned. Okay, so the big thing that's taking up most of my time, go ahead to the next slide. Discretionary grants from EASA. So EASA has 1.2 trillion, and that's not just for transportation. I mean, that's broadband, water, sewer, highways, the whole gamut. But as part of EASA, there's approximately $100 billion in discretionary grants. This administration has made it clear that they welcome applications from local governments, big and small. All right, so let me tell you how we're going to go about pursuing grants, and then how my office is going to coordinate with the locals. Okay, so we are going to focus, SCDOT, we're going to focus on projects that align with our 10-year plan. I'm sure y'all have heard Secretary Hall talk about that a lot. So we have certain goals that we would like to meet. So we're gonna be pursuing those grants that align with these things: pavements, rural road safety, interstates, and bridges. It was mentioned earlier that the city submitted the MPDG grant for Assembly Street.
Right.
Also on Monday, we submitted a grant. And that was for the I-20 Wateree River Bridges in Kershaw County. Over the river, and then the overflow bridges that was on our prioritized list of projects. So we submitted that grant Monday. So basically my office is responsible for making sure those grants get written and submitted. We're not going to pursue grants that are not aligned with our priorities. We're not going to change projects. We have too much stuff to do, y'all. So we're focusing on our 10-year plan. The bridge improvement program, NOFO, that's Notice of Funding Opportunity, that should be coming out this month. And we're probably going to go after 95 over Lake Marion for that particular grant, just replacing this. And if y'all have been over this bridge or the I-20 Wateree River Bridge, y'all know they need some assistance. Okay, so how will we work with locals who are seeking grants? Y'all know that we have the 4th largest highway system in the nation, so many roads. So if any locals are interested in pursuing grants, we support that and want y'all to be successful. But at the same time, if it's on our system, please let us know. We don't like jump balls. Let us know well in advance to submit that grant application. So if we know the problems, we can be like, oh, well, that conflicts with something that we have planned, or we just don't want to get, y'all to get too far down the road with that. So reach out to us. Here's this email address here, which let us know.
Miles. Keep going, keep going.
No, sorry, like others way. So reach out to us, let us know if you're interested in applying for grants. We're not doing letters of support per se, it's more of a detailed project letter. Saying this is our understanding of the project, but at least you can include that in your grant applications so that the funder will know that you've reached out to DOT and that we're aware of the project. But again, if it's not on our system, you don't have to come through us. What else? Local governments wanting to apply for these grants, they should be prepared to seek the grants and also apply for them. Again, we're applying for a lot for our own project pipeline. And so we really need locals to be able to stand on their own and apply for these grants if they're interested. Oh, one good thing. Okay, so let's say you get a grant, let's say you're successful. SCDOT cannot manage that project. Again, we have so many other projects that we're managing. However, we are doing a local government services RFP. And so basically, we're gonna say, we can't manage the project for you, but here's a list of 10 firms that you can reach out to who can assist you with that project. So that RFP should be coming out in the next, I think, week or two. That's not mandatory. You don't have to use it. It's just, it's just a help if locals need it. I think that's about it. And that's it.
Yes, actually, you've done a great job.
Sorry,
And you're
look at it. I'm trying to-
Stephanie O'Kane here. Can I ask a question or make a comment?
Who's this, please?
Stephanie O'Kane.
Okay, thank you.
Just wanted to ask the speaker, are you guys, especially as you're working with local governments, are you guys also, as new projects come on, encouraging them to reach out to the South Carolina Broadband Office to make sure that if we're going to dig an area, a lot of times we can, lay fiber for digital equality while it's already dug, the area is already dug up, we can do several projects at once. And so I would just encourage you, if you're not already doing that, that when you're working with the local governments, to be sure and remind them to reach out, because, some of these projects can be put together.
Absolutely. And actually, the broadband office stole our right-of-way guy, Cedric, who I adored. So I know that he's just got a wealth of institutional knowledge and is definitely making sure that, you know, that coordination between DOT and the new broadband office occur. But yes, as I'm made aware of projects, I'll be sure to remind the applicants of that coordination and communication.
I'm gonna
Thank
take
you.
one more question. Yes, sir.
So for clarification, I am a local government, but we don't own our roads. Can we still come to you on behalf of the county road that we need to get fixed? Because the counties don't seem to care about these roads.
So are you talking about for the TAP program, for the grants program? or-
Any program, you say you're helping local governments, I'm a local government, I want to know how you help.
Right, yes, absolutely. So depending on the project, we can match you up with the right program, depending on what you're
But we
after.
can still come.
Of course, of course. Mhm.
It's on the question. Definitions. When you set the fourth largest highway system, how is that defined?
How is that defined? Federal aid eligible highways. The FHWA determines that, so it's
The
based on
roads
the
that are eligible for federal.
federal aid.
Fine, Jenny, you've done a super job. And I do think, Ms. McDaniel, I think that our council, I mean, our board here would endorse y'all fully funding as a Cheddar project. As I hope, as legislature, I think this is a great new idea. And it's a kind of an answer to some of the things we've talked about here. You know, we're a small town, we're kind of out there. And you and your staff, I think, can really help us a lot. So we appreciate y'all having this new program and your enthusiasm and knowledge.
Yeah, thank y'all so much. I'm sorry I was running through it.
Mr. Chair, before we go.
Yes, ma'am.
Because we still in the budget process for this year.
Oh,
But even so for next year, if you would just, talk to me later, because I have a million things going to kind of help me, I can try to champion that. And I appreciate you putting that in my effort.
wouldn't y'all agree, not ahead, it's the excellent new program from DOT, and we'd like to. And Ms. McDaniel, we appreciate you pushing that. All right, one more round.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Come on.
All right. Asian Spotlight Senior Day Celebration, a huge success. Candace Holloway, Ben Mull, I win. Let's get going. Real quick, you got some pictures? All right, Ms. Holloway just did a fantastic job. How many people came, Ms. Holloway?
Around, I'll say about 235 seniors.
Yeah.
And with staff and volunteers, who is over 300.
All right, tell us about it.
Yeah, I'll be really quick. That's basically my first.
And Jason was there, did a super job then and today. Thank you, Jason.
Okay, great. So Older Americans Month. So each year in May, we commemorate Older Americans Month to encourage and recognize the countless contributions that older adults make to our community. During Older Americans Month, we honor our nation's seniors and the tremendous impact they have made in helping build a more perfect union. So we were granted with the opportunity by NCDOA for all 10 regions to provide our own or celebrate our own seniors in our region, right? Just to keep down the numbers of COVID. So to, of course, include all of our COAs to assist us to give all our seniors to the medallion center. So we had several visitor tables, celebration, Blue Cross Blue Shield, AARP, WellCare, Bagel, and Prisma. They were the sponsors, so they assisted with a lot of the bags and a lot of the information and materials that we had being used. We had great speakers, Ms. Janae Price, who's the premier counseling. She is a geriatric counselor. So she will provide counseling to those individuals who are 60 and older. She does accept Medicare, Medicaid, and private insurance. Although our own Foster Cindy was a speaker along with Adam Kubike, who provided a lot of information and education about the booster shot. Okay, so DHIC was also there providing, I think they provided 15 boosters altogether during that event. So I think that's tremendous. That is great just to have another individual getting their booster. Of course, we had a lot of games. We had raffles games, and
It was a big crowd.
been a great crowd. And then of course, we had a band, we had entertainment. I think that was the most favorite of the things was the band. So that was quick.
So it was just really, there were, all 4 counties were represented. There were buses from each of our counties there. And it was just a happy, happy day.
And, you know, the big thing we're trying to encourage, Candace and her staff, it's independent and, socialization, Victoria did a great job. But it was really one of the best things I've been to in a long time. So I'd like to give Candace a round of applause. Victoria, you missed that. It was in your pack.
When did I do it?
That's correct. Next year, now you know, you have a year advance. And we'll all be there. All right. Executive Director, Candace, great job. Dan, Rachel, Victoria, and everybody else involved, it was super Harmon. All right, Executive Director's report. Ben, you got 2 minutes.
Okay, real quickly, I mentioned the grant writing training. We have dates now, July 18th to 19th. For grant writing class and then the advanced management class. Board members, if they'd like to take it in September.
If I may interject, I thoroughly endorse that program. People should participate.
Which one?
Grant writing.
Grant writing? Okay.
Yes.
Great opportunity for board member or staff to attend if available.
And it's like $500 if you have a couple spots for board members, or you can defer to your staff to come. We're gonna encourage the smaller towns to encourage somebody to come versus here.
And then I also wanted just to mention the Midlands River Coalition that we're involved with every year has kicked off again here in May, where they monitor the rivers. And you can go to house.ncriver.org to get that information. Just ask you to share that out. That's all I have.
Good stuff, Ben, and we meet in June and take off in July. June is back
June
here.
23rd, we'll be back here then in August. Harvest again.
Very good. Update on Kershaw County, as I mentioned earlier, they are pursuing getting out of codes and reclassified entirely into Santee Lynch's COG. To me, understandable, they want to all be together versus flips. They're pursuing that. We're going to keep on going down the road here, Central Midlands COG, as we normally would. The timetable being was asked earlier. That would probably be by the end of the calendar year, not earlier. And the federal government, that's defining urbanized boundaries. So we would know that later this year. All right, and then I mentioned last month that I thought violence would be something we, to kind of make an emphasis area. Unfortunately, that has continued to prove to be true. And so Watch Fox 57 did have a nice hour-long special that they have reposted. It's Sheriff Lott, it's Chief Holbrook, and some other folks talking about how we can reduce violence in the Midlands. And Ben's going to share that after the meeting. It's an hour, but there's some good information in there for those folks. And I'd encourage you maybe to watch that if you'd like. The anchor, Mr. Cleveland, did a nice job hosting that. And, we mentioned earlier, we had a significant tragedy in Newberry. One thing I've seen come out of that, a bunch of people seem to have new ideas on how we can interact with our youth more and have more programs. And maybe that's something we'll all be doing both locally and maybe nationally as we get out of COVID, is to make sure we are doing as many youth programs and things like that as we can. Y'all got anything else?
Don't move it.
Mr. Bell, second. Mr. Birch, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Be patient, coming in.